of the spot the second Aphelios went for the Inferno.
I will say though, I haven't been a fan of LGD drafts. Like, I wanted that Thresh to come in on the second rotation alongside the Jinx, because it meant that, hey, you now deny the opportunity for an Aphelios to come through, right? Because you don't really want to play like Aphelios Braum into Thresh Jinx. You're just never going to have a good time. So, I don't know. It seems weird, the priority, but at least now LGD with both Xin Zhao and Lee Sin banned away will get the Jinx. Problem is, though, you can still go for the Aphelios, take the Thresh for Cho, and Betty should still have a reasonably alright time.
Yeah, well, the Thresh is denied from Eric here, so very likely the Lulu again. We could have the exact same bottom lanes once more. I'm curious if LGD will just rinse and repeat, or if they're going to change things up here. But also, junglers not being locked in early. We've seen jungler as the first pick pretty much every game in the LPL so far, so definitely a different strategy, and the Nautilus is locked in instead.
I mean, you've got your three big ones off the board, right? Xin Zhao, Jarvan, Lee Sin. Not really many options to kind of high prioritize. So Shadow actually going to go back towards Talon, which definitely a strong jungler at the moment, where you're running first strike, you get a bunch of that gold in early, and certainly one that can take over the game. But we'll have to see if Xiaohao, if that is top lane Graves or if that is jungle Graves to answer against the Talon.
Yeah, I'm curious. Definitely getting a little interesting in this draft. Both of these teams quite happy to go a different direction to what we saw yesterday and earlier on today from JDG and EDG. That is for sure. And it means that when we come to this second round of bans, I'm really not sure what to expect. Looks like it is going to be those global bans that we saw in game number 1 of this series up against Yegg, taking away the Galio. I think it was the Vex was the other ban, if I remember correctly, in game number 1.
Yeah, it was the Vex that came through second, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it again. I'm just trying to get Yeji away from things that could kind of support not only just the Jinx in the bot lane, but also play well with the Talon, right? So the Galio can do really well because you can go for these invades, be creative over the wall and have Galio fly in. I feel like the Twisted Fate is another one that can do quite well as well. So maybe Forge decides to pick that one up for himself, but I feel like kind of going anything towards that's more of a facilitator when you already have so much damage from Jinx and from Talon from working.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they're going to go for. The LeBlanc banned away, and now maybe another top lane ban could be like a Kennen or a Jace, or actually the Ola taken off the board. I guess when you can't play this inside yourself, just remove another one of those strong jungles. That's 4 jungle bans though, which does mean we're going to be pushed to some strange picks here potentially. It is going to be the Akali locked in as well. Perhaps just a denial pick away from Fairness there, but also Forge is a pretty solid Akali.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of going, hey, look, if you want to go for that Twisted Fate, we're not going to make it easy, because Akali can do pretty well against the TF, where, you know, you try to stun her, she goes into her Shroud, makes it very difficult for you to try and follow up, particularly for someone like a Talon. So it looks like that could be the game plan, and obviously having that flexibility to go top if you wanted. But I feel like this is going to be a Graves jungle, just because you do get a good amount of armor you can clear relatively well too, and it should, in theory, leave yourself pretty okay to try and just keep yourself at bay. But we'll have to see what the story is going to be.
Yeah, I'm curious what Yegg is going to lock in here. Certainly looked good on the Victor in game number 1. It was a very, very comfortable pick for him. Definitely something that he's played before. He's happy to go for that one once again. Fairness on the Kennen did not have as good of a time on the Kennen as he did on the Akali in game number 1. Perhaps just happy in the matchup, depending whether it could be the Graves, it could be the Akali, it could be whatever Chocho is hovering, because it's looking like a top lane. So it could well be Graves in the jungle.
Yeah, it looks like it will be. Coming back to LGD though, pretty solid composition, right? You've got 2 late game team fights, ton of zone control coming through from the Kennen and the Victor that can help keep Jinx safe, and you've got your backline options for Shadow as well to just be a bit pesky. So I actually like what LGD have got set up here. The only issue that I'm kind of seeing is like, where do you try and prioritize the Shadow for setup? Because playing towards Fairness, not really the greatest when ZDZ can kind of just run away from that. You don't have lockup for the Camille. When you look at bot lane, maybe, but still going to be kind of tough to get in onto the Aphelios. So you're kind of running out of options here for Shadow to like early game prioritize. And that has me a little bit worried for LGD.
I mean, when we go back to what we were talking about right at the very start of this series, it was all about this jungle matchup, right? Xiaohao versus Shadow. So if Shadow doesn't have that many options in the early game, could be a really, really good situation for anyone's Anyone's Legends here. Opportunity for them to find that early game lead. And again, 100% of the games Anyone's Legend has had an early game lead in, they have won. So, you know, the stats don't lie, Dagda. The 2-game sample size stats do not lie.
Can I, like,
we'll
change the schedule so I don't have to cast at you anymore? Is that an option? It's possible.
I'm afraid not, mate, because I make the schedule. I am the schedule. Yeah, no, unfortunately, you're stuck with me, buddy. You're stuck with me. But we'll have to see if you're good, if you behave well, we might let you cast with a different play-by-play. But depends on your behavior, okay? So best behavior.
Rob has hated 100% of the games where Joe has made just to get that out. But moving into this game, right. Anyone's Legend. We're seeing first strike actually on both junglers in this one. So obviously Xiaohao trying to see if he can get in aggressive and get a decent amount of gold coming away from those lanes. But I do really think that you're kind of prioritizing like 1-3-1 here for Anyone's Legends. So Xiaohao, I imagine, will be focused on both of those solo lanes, trying to get them ahead.
Yeah, trying to get the solo lanes ahead will be the name of the game here. But once again, in the bottom lane, like, it's the opposite of like, the expectation right now is like play through the bottom lane and go crazy. These bottom lanes are going to be a little bit more passive than that, I fear, with the Jinx and the Aphelios again looking for that scaling. Could well be a lot more action up towards that top side. Camille versus Kennen both have a lot of all-in potential.
It's interesting to see the change in plan from Anyone's Legend, right? Because when you look at Demacia, they very heavily played towards Betty and Chocho. Like, they were all in on trying to get these guys ahead. Now, you've got the Aphelios, which is going to make it a little bit tougher because you're up against the ranged matchup in the Jinx, but it's interesting to see that Anyone's Legends have just kind of swapped the game plan around and aren't as heavily focused on giving all those resources to Betty and Chocho.
Yeah, feels like it's much more about trying to just play the long game for LGD, honestly, or at least it was in game number 2. I'm curious about this build as well in the mid lane. Forge started off with 3 rejuvenation beads. It's not a build that I was expecting to see. As Betty just walks at Eric once again, that seems to be the level 1 strat for Betty and for Chocho every single game. Just walk at them.
I think Betty might have a misclick. Now, I've been wrong about misclicks before in runes, but lethal tempo just seems way better to me than press the attack on Aphelios. Lethal tempo is absurdly broken right now. And the press the attack, not really going to do a huge amount in these sort of scenarios, unless it's kind of a case of, hey, we want to try and burst down Eric if we can ever close the gap. But I still think lethal tempo for team fights just gives you so much because the extra range, the extra attack speed, but not going to be able to make use of it this game. So Betty's positioning going to need to be even better than it was in last game when he doesn't have that advantage.
Yeah, I think it might be down the same vein as like the Collector, right? Acknowledging that you're not going to outscale the Jinx. So when you've got an Akali and a Camille on your team, playing for that mid game and trying to just do more burst damage and set up for just one-shot people, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to work out for him. Certainly can proc it very fast with the red gun, at very least. But now bottom lane control in favor of Anyone's Legend. And I have to say, I've been somewhat impressed by Betty and Chocho as a 2v2. Managed to get the 2v2 kill in game number 2 of the series, and now having control of that bottom lane again in game number 3.
Yeah, well, Jungler's basically just trading on opposite sides as well. Forge, though, taken low, which is why... GAG first splash. I was going to say, which is why we saw Forge taking those triple rejuvenation beads. It means that you're in a relatively good spot where you can just take a bunch of damage and heal up so super easily, but... Shadow?
Jungle 1v1 here, but Xiaohao's winning it out so far. Has the armor from his passive, has the slow from a red buff that Shadow doesn't currently have. Shadow has to back away, decides to go for the reset. I guess this is just timed out at this point in the game. But TDZ now looking up at the top side, but gets stunned, and it means Fairness will actually win out the trade overall. TDZ starting to have a bit of a hard time in that top lane.
Nicely done by Xiaohao, though, because the fact he rerouted himself back at the top side is...
All in the bottom side, though, here. Infernum available for Betty. Does flash away. Keeps himself alive. That's a summoner trade that's a win for LGD, so long as they don't fight in the next sort of 20 seconds while they're down on HP.
Yeah, they're just going to be able to take this, finish pushing in that wave. You have Shadow's reset now back down onto this bottom side. Jungler's trading sides the map means that like you're going to be seeing very much kind of an ebb and flow back and forth in the map. So you can see Eric trying to shove in this wave and get the reset for himself while he's got Shadow there to help him. Whereas Fearless needs to be super careful that Shadow isn't going top side, but actually not really in a position to do so. So Fearless going to be able to collapse this wave as well.
Yeah, it looks like Forge will be able to crash a wave here as well. Get himself a reset off as we saw Yedge using Yedge. I'm changing it every time I say it. We saw him go for an early recall. The TP comes through. Forge has already head back to the lane where he got the Amp Tome and a Dark Seal for himself. Drake is onto the map though, past the 5-minute mark. And I'm curious which team, if any, is going to go for this one earliest. Jin Zhao spotted on that ward that came out from Forge. Nice ward there onto the Raptors. Should give him information on Shadow in a couple of minutes as well once those Raptors are back up.
In theory, LGD should have control over mid and bot to go for... Oh, nice dodge from Jin Zhao, but... in theory, Eric and Yeji should have control to go and look for a dragon early if Shadow wants to. It's just Shadow ends up taking a ton of damage off the dragon, so it ends up a little bit scary if Xiaohao decides to show up with company. So I think this would be a dragon that kind of just sits there for a good while, especially because it's Cloud. Unless Xiaohao off of this big push in bot side decides that he's got time to do it.
Have to see there. Xiaohao is on the bottom side of the map right now, and Betty does have priority. Does have Inferno if he wants to push a little harder as well, but perhaps just wanted to conserve ammo at this point. But it looks like Xiaohao not willing to commit to the Drake. Definitely a slower one, Dagda. 6 minutes in between LGD and AL, and we don't have a single kill on the wood. We're getting a replay of a non-kill of his premonition. I don't know how he expected that.
That definitely didn't seem expected. It was just like, oh, actually, I'm going to go this way. This is a bad idea. They could be in Dragon Pit. And I was like, oh, would you look at that?
His spidey sense, that's what it was. Nautilus can swing from the walls. Maybe he does have a spider sense as well. Maybe,
would it be squiddy sense? Because it's underwater.
I mean, I don't know. But certainly, the dodge was marvelous. Ah, good one, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Over to you, Rob.
I don't even know where to go from this. This is a slow game, and you made it awkward. You have one job, which is to not throw me under the bus, and that's exactly what you've done.
Do you know, Dagda, it wouldn't be awkward if you had any banter, you know? If you had any banter, it wouldn't have been awkward.
Just bring up like Lord of the Rings.
This is what I got to work with, guys. This is what I got to work with.
Look, my roast is already up on the Twitter. I've got video evidence. You congratulate yourself.
Thank you. I have. I'm Obama meddling myself right now.
No, I meant
that
you.
Sounds,
you say, good job, Joe. You congratulate yourself on jokes. Not you should congratulate yourself.
Oh no, it's too late. It's been said now. Here we go. Slice the Maelstrom with the top side. Fearless stranded 2v1, but a good stun comes through from ZDZ. And nicely done there. Good gank from Xiaohao. And just as Herald spawns as well. Oh, it's sumptuous, Dagda.
It's a really nice bit, and this is what we're talking about, expected from anyone's Legend, right? Play through topside, simply because they want to try and opt into this 1-3-1 in the later portion of the game. Shadow is trying to respond by taking away a lot of these bot camps, which he will be able to do successfully, but it looks like Shadow isn't sticking around for that Rift here. Wants to make sure his bot lane can be safe.
Chocho only flashes forward every single game. I love watching this guy play. Here we go, Forge behind the team, but so is Shadow trying to jump onto Betty, trying to finish these kills, but it's Eric to go down first. Chocho falls at the same time. Shadow now the target as Betty is wailing away, and Forge gets another double buff in his pocket and a double kill to boot. Jumps in front, but can't quite block the anchor. That is a bit of a heartbreaker for him, but he will survive. Shuriken's out to safety, and a kill for Betty, no less. Beautifully done here by AL.
Yeah, the flash isn't enough to get in the way, but he'll be compensated with 5 sacks on that Dark Steel already. 2 kills, the Hextech alternator picked up. This Akali, once more in this series, getting very, very scary. And I mean, it's just a nice job coming through from anyone's Legend, right? They get this success on top side, and you can see right as they go, lock up, sets it up nice and handy. Xiaohao flashes in to get the kill. But look at one the mini-map, right? You've got Reset coming through from Victor, which means that Kali can actually push in that mid wave. She rotates down to the bot side because Victor's only just TP'd back into the mid lane. That means you've got the opportunity to turn around this bot lane play when it's just Shadow who can get down.
Yeah, and that ultimate coming out from Betty there was crucial, because as Shadow jumps in, Betty goes from half to full HP again from the Moonlight Vigil. Eric's in trouble as it's Xiaohao trying to finish him off. The ulti is going to do it as well. That is some damage from Xiaohao. Shadow, he'll get himself a Rift Herald, but I don't know if it's worth it when Graves is getting a kill and a dragon on top.
Yeah, and I mean, if they even get the dragon shove in bot wave, they might be able to get some of those third plates for themselves as well. Maybe one, but still, anyone's legend coming out swinging. And we said anyone's legend, when they get these early leads, are very capable of snowballing these games. It's what they did in summer 2021. It's what we're seeing now again in 2022. This is definitely a lead that they can power through.
It certainly is. We said, you know, 100% of the time, anyone's legends had an early lead, they've won the game in the LPL. They're in that magical sweet spot once again. We'll have to see. It's a 1,000 just over gold lead here in their favor right now as Shadow tries to invade, maybe looking towards the top side. ZDZ does need to be a little cautious, but I don't think this is a position where LGD can really set up a dive, at least for the time being. And Camille, awfully difficult to gank because of the hook shot wall dive. Let's see if he can escape, though. The ulti comes on through first. Beautifully done, but the dot is there. It's enough. The bleed coming out from Shadow will finish him off. I thought he'd got away with that.
Yeah, Red Smite and the bleed doing a huge amount there, and means that LGD, they get the kill. Xiaohao will be up here to try and shut down the play, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. You need a few more reinforcements, but yeah, G is on the way alongside Cool.
Oh, here we go. It's all kicking off. Shadow could be in trouble. Fairness having to use the E just to escape here. Shuriken goes in, but Forge, whoa, you're low on HP. Okay. He baited me, he baited them, he baited you, Rob, he baited chat. Forge is playing with everyone's hearts right now, but he survives.
Yeah, manages to step away. I was like, you have a bounty, do not give it over. That would just be just the worst possible thing for you to do right now. But while all that's going on the top side, the push comes in from anyone's legend in the bot lane as well. ZDZ even coming in towards the mid lane to make sure that the wave isn't lost for Forge in the mid. So all in all, anyone's legend defend the play, which is a big win for them, and should be able to like kind of keep the game even. The top lane tower not going down is a pretty nice, well, a slim margin of victory for them in that play.
Yeah, it could have been worse, basically, is our conclusion. Let's take another look at the kill on ZDZ, because it was damn close.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just the burn and the bleed is just too much. It's just not able to stay alive. There's a lot of damage that can come through very quickly, and fortunately not able to keep it alive. So now you got Jinjiao missing on his hooks. Talon moving back up to the bot lane. Shadow just wants to dive ZDZ over and over.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's certainly been working so far as he jumps back in. Didn't get the second proc of the W though, so won't get the bleed for this one. And the shield that Camille gets, that AD shield against an AD target, certainly helpful. In the meantime, Xiaohao's like, well, I don't really need a herald to hit towers. I'm Graves. So they just start hammering away. But the first tower will go in favor of Fairness. So a good chunk of gold going into that Kennen's pocket. ZDZ just desperately trying to fight Shadow for the Krugs at this point. Xiaohao decides to invade. Eric wants to get some vision control, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But actually, Xiaohao can't deal with the ward because the red buff is in the way. And it's going to be Jin Zhao now finally being able to move forward and get some vision.
I mean, it's just a split map, right? You got bot tower going the way of anyone's legend, top tower going the way of LGD, and Shadow is just taking the jungle of Xiaohao on the top side. So it's really just back and forth here. No one really getting any major advantage. It is nice for Betty, though, to be able to get the full turret plates, because in this match, you traditionally get.
Xiaohao just about getting away with that one there. It could have been a lot worse for them, but managing to dodge away from the attempted play there. In the meantime, Eric currently in that bottom lane. Next Drake is coming up in a minute and 20 seconds. And it is still going to be a minor gold lead in favor of anyone's legend, but it is very minor. We're talking 300 gold here, so much more about compositions than it is about gold at this point, Declan.
I mean, it feels more so a case of like, can anyone's legend lock down the likes of Yeji and Eric? And get Betty access to the fight. Because my biggest problem is you've got the W coming through from Victor. You've got the Maelstrom coming through as well. No cleanse on Betty makes it really difficult for him to actually survive if you got a flash coming in from Fearless. So it's going to be on Betty here to make sure that he's kind of weathering the storm, positioning well, and not getting caught out by a lot of the CC that LGD are going to be throwing his direction.
See if they can weather the storm or not. Certainly scaling again with the Victor and the Jinx. I'm liking the look of what LGD have in that late game, but we saw last game LGD didn't do that good of a job of just weathering the storm in the mid game, right? Let's be honest. Anyone's Legend didn't exactly pressure perfectly in that mid game. Still managed to get that Baron in the team fight to close the game out. So it feels like LGD have to prove themselves this time around if they can weather that storm, or whether or not maybe they could just go for a fight in the mid game. Let's be honest. Conversations of scaling often don't pan out as you would expect in the LPL. Let's be reasonable here. Sometimes shenanigans occur, especially when it's LGD versus anyone's Legend. So we'll have to wait and see what the next couple of minutes are going to look like.
I will say, though, for anyone's Legend, the fact that they have 2 dragons now to themselves sets up pretty well for them. Like, the conversation we've been having about anyone's Legend is not team fights, right? We just said they suck. We want to see them play out through side lanes, and when you got 2 dragons that you can just ignore before the opponent even answers for your own matchup, makes it a hell of a lot easier. Although, as I say that,
a lot of shurikens for Betty right here. Gale Force in. Fearless finished off. Betty going aggro there. Beautifully done with the Gale Force auto. Babe, trying to make a statement in this series because it feels like he's an AD carry that's been kind of looked down upon a little bit in the LPL. Feels like he wants to change that fact. Herald now will be the reward as well for AL. My concern, though, Dagda, is as you're mentioning, they want to play through side lanes, right? They didn't give me a lot of confidence that they could do that in the last game.
Yeah, and you don't exactly have the big accelerated shock blast from ZDZ to kind of like actually win you the Baron fight. So we'll have to see how this one goes. But I mean, these are going to be pretty highlight plays, right? Replay coming through as we look. Jojo, they think they've caught him, but just about able to get that stopwatch off was key because he would have been burst out. And LGD, they're trying to force these plays when they don't know where anyone's Legend is. There's 4 of them right over the corner, and you're entering into a 4v4 when you're not even in a position to try and take that fight.
Yeah, definitely feels tough for LGD right now. And I'm wondering what happened, because game number 1, LGD looked pretty good, right? I was pretty impressed by LGD in game number 1. Game number 2, it felt a little dicier, and now game number 3, it feels like it's falling apart, and that is not a good start for the LPL. Like, when you're in your first series, dramatically dropping off over the course of 1 best of 3 is really not a good way to start your split off, because, yeah, I mean, it's not going to do much for the mental.
It will be said. Oh, Eric, he's gone. What? He's out of there. Long range with the Calibrum gets the extra shot. Beautifully done.
Oh my days.
That's what I mean, right? Is like, so I was meant to say the big plaster that we had in game 1 was the 9-kill Akali, right? For Fearless. That just kind of won them the game. But LGD aren't a team that are phenomenal at team fights. They're not a team that we've said are good at side lane control. So when anyone's Legend gets these early advantages, they're just able to play through them. And so many times we're going into these fights and like Jane Zhao's using his CC onto Chocho or to a lot of the other champions that aren't Forge. So it just ends up opening up Forge to play very aggressive because he knows, hey, Nautilus has nothing left in the tank for me. Kennen isn't here yet, so I can go as aggro as I want and actually get into the backline and cause a ton of issues. So I feel like for Jin Zhao, the big thing you're going to have to do here is like play a step back, be a little bit cautious with how you're using your CC, and lock this Akali every time she goes in. Buy space for Eric, because when you don't have the Thresh, that's the biggest thing that Eric needs.
Oh, Forge wants a 1v1 in this mid lane against Yegg. Doesn't quite have the damage. The combo, it was pretty to look at. It looked real good. It was timed nicely. It just didn't do enough damage. It's that simple, unfortunately.
But it is doing what we wanted from anyone's Legends, right? Playing through side lanes. Forge goes to the play on top. We'll get that wave shut in. Now dips into the fog of war as ZDZ.
Oh, he actually gets away with it. This time the bleed didn't go through. So he will survive. Xiao Hao. Finn as well, but able to the rocket.
No. Okay.
I mean, it hits. Good shot from Eric, but
oh, Betty.
not enough. Betty is tanking tower in mid lane, and now he's getting TP'd on. He's getting knocked up by a death charge, and he's getting a kill donated over to Eric here. I'm not entirely sure what happened for Betty to be stood where he was stood, but it was not ideal. Eric almost goes down to a shotgun blast.
Yeah, I think he was trying to dive Eric, looking at the timing on Eric's flash. I think he tried to kill him underneath the tower. Eric flashed away, which gave him the opportunity. So I was just about to praise Anyone's Legend for playing out correctly, and they kind of messed it up. So yeah, it looks like, there you go. Gets the shot under tower. Doesn't manage to get the kill off of the Moonlight Vigil, and Jinja just walks around. So I was about to say, look, Anyone's Legend, they're trying to play 1-3-1. They're trying to shove in waves, but LGD kind of correctly realized, look, if Forge is top lane and we've just seen people in mid lane, we can try and collapse very quickly onto ZDZ, but couldn't quite get the play to work out in bot, but they get the consolation prize of Betty in mid.
Yeah, I mean, Betty trying to go aggressive there, but doesn't quite combo it right, so the route ends and he flashes away, and it's like, man, life comes at you fast, you know? Suddenly he's the one out of position, suddenly he's the one going down. And that's a shutdown as well, that I'm pretty sure went into the pocket of Eric. Very nicely done by the side of LGD to punish that, and now Anyone's Legend somehow still having control of the bottom side of the map, going to be able to get themselves this Drake. That's a Hextech Drake. That's 3 Drakes in the pocket and 1 away from a Hextech. I was counting chickens a little early there, I'm not gonna lie, but they still got it. And 1 away from a Hextech Soul, I say as I wipe the sweat from my brow.
Yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a panic smite there, where he realized that the ult was coming in. It was like, oh crap, get it, no, and then was totally fine in the end. Either way though, as he said, 3 dragons now for Anyone's Legend. The Hextech Soul, super strong as well. Like, the AoE slow on your autos is kind of nuts, especially for how much you want to chase down LGD in a lot of these fights, because they're going to be trying to play at range, use the zone control they have to keep you at bay. If you're chasing them down, able to slow them down, it's going to do a lot of work for Anyone's Legend.
And I feel like this is TFT players doing, you know? TFT players are like, you know, they want Static Shift back in the game, the monkeys pour kills, and we get this Drake instead. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? What did it cost? ZDZ's in trouble here. Shadow having to jump over the wall. Betty trying to finish him off, trying to chase this one down, but Shadow is playing Talon. It doesn't matter because Camille can do that too. With Fairness, that decide not to go for too much more, but then Forge is still chasing. And you're right, Eric is just pushing in the mid lane. Shadow just hop, skip, and jumping across the map. And absolutely nothing comes of it, ultimately. Nobody dies. Yeah. No towers go down. We're just chilling somehow.
But you get the TP out of Forge, which is a pretty nice one, especially when you're looking at like the dragon that we were just talking about, and the opportunity to play for Baron. There was no real reason for Anyone's Legend to like jump the gun on that one. You could have played that a lot slower. So LGD don't actually end up losing a huge amount, but gained a pretty nice bit of Summoner Spell usage. And now you end up with the pushing top. They get control back on the map, the opportunity to reset. Anyone's Legend just kind of threw away a lot of the tempo they had on the map, trying to kill Shadow.
Fairness is waiting for his opportunity, but he's stood on a ward. Not quite going to happen for him, unfortunately. We'll just have to settle for the wave instead. And we've kind of returned to this mid-game dip that we saw in game number 2 again, where both teams playing it slow and steady. And once again, it is absolute legends. I'm going to continue to call them. With the small lead, but not really being able to push it too hard, and that's the big concern I've got for this team. Is they don't seem to be able to do much to push the leads when they have.
GG now grouped to mid though. They will get tower, but Betty.
Oh, great hook! The knockup will come through. Betty goes down. 1-for-1. We've got Shadow on the backline as well. Chocho trying to escape, but taken down by the Blade. ZDZ in the backline as Forge trying to do some damage. He's invisible. He's in the middle of everyone. Has he got the damage to finish anyone off, though? ZDZ managed to get one. Goes down for his trouble. Collateral damage to finish that one. Is Eric chasing on through as Zap would do the job. Get the slow and chase him on, but can't quite find his mark. And LGD find themselves a fight, but narrowly.
Yeah, messy engage for Anyone's Legend, right? They all split, and it's just Betty left kind of going, lads, that's that massive hook, whacks him in the face, and that gives LGD the team fight that they really wanted to. Again, more control of the map. Again, this gold lead is closing. And with a minute 40 until this dragon, the fact you've now got 2 items onto the Jinx, your Victor, are certainly going to help, but you're going to see it here, right? Like, Xiao Hao separated, Cho not trying to block, and you just burst out Betty straight off the bat.
Yeah, and that Slicing Maelstrom as well, just absolutely ruining the middle of the fight for AL. They could not move, they could not operate inside the team fight. And good effort at the end here from ZDZ. At least he's able to trade one and finish Fairness off. That damage is insane, but then the W, sorry, from Shadow to finish the kill off.
So as we're a minute now from Dragon, you can see already anyone's Legend trying to get vision control in this bot side jungle, set up opportunities for Forge to find the flank. And if they control the river, it makes it a lot easier for Betty to enter into these fights, right? Get himself into a position where he can actually deal out damage. For LGD again, just not quite able to get the reset they want to get control, especially because Shadow up on this red buff means that he's going to have a long way to walk to see if he can sneak in behind anyone's Legend. Although, if anyone Legend starts walking towards him, that could help out.
LGD grouped in the jungle, but Forge is behind him. Actually has to use his ulti just to keep himself safe for the time being, and won't be able to get the second proc of it off. But does buy river control right now for AL. It is a big ulti on cooldown and collateral damage used as well, but at least they have control. 10 seconds until this Drake comes up, and now it's LGD that have to somehow contest this one. We saw this in game number 1. LGD got the 4th Drake for free. They cannot afford for the opposite to happen here in game number 3. But it's gonna happen. They haven't walked in. I don't know why no one's contesting Drakes today, but it's a Hextech Soul for AL. And surely a fight off the back of it. An Infernum on top of the Lightning. And Lightning answers Lightning, but it's not quite enough to finish the kills. 2 more for AL. And a Dragon Soul practically uncontested.
And that's 2 games in a row now that Eric has been the unfortunate recipient of burst damage from anyone's Legend at key objectives. This time it's Forge who managed to pick it off, and as he said, LGD not happy to try and contest afterwards and ended up giving across the soul. I actually thought, like, at this stage, just try and flip in there as Shadow. Like, Hextech Dragon is so strong, especially for what anyone's Legend wants to do. And even here, right, you got Fearless going forward. Yeah, G isn't ready to follow up. Eric isn't there to follow up. It all just seems disjointed as usual for LGD.
Yep. Bit of a disappointment here for LGD, especially for Fairness, after having such an insane game 1 of the series. And unfortunately not able to replicate it on the Kennen. It feels like that Akali pick was a pocket pick for him. But the rest of these games have not been working out. And Shadow having a good game on this Talon, but feels like Talon's days are numbered here as he's caught in the jungle. Won't be able to finish that kill off and just goes down for his trouble. And well, the enemy jungle has been caught, so I guess AL just get themselves a free Baron.
ZDZ's been caught, so question mark?
Oh, it's been warded as well, so we can't take that Lantern there. It does have a stopwatch. It's 1 for 1 here, and that's enough for AL to just back away. Dagda, what is happening in this game? Honestly, what is going on? Like, I feel like there are so many moments here that are like, this is a great opportunity for this team. And they're like, yeah, we could. But how about this?
I came into EDG, JDG. And after what was like some super clean League of Legends from EDG, looking so good to this series. I feel like I'm experiencing both ends of the spectrum of the LPL.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel a little bit that way. But you know what, Dagda? I'm okay with that, because we can complain as much as we want. But while we have literally the best team in the world in our league, we also have some of the literally worst teams in the world in our league. And I enjoy getting a smorgasbord, you know? We get some nice options for our viewers. This is definitely on the wilder side of the menu.
Well, I don't even know where that leaves us, to be honest, because what we've shown is that it doesn't matter if a team gets an advantage. They don't really know what to do with it. So I feel like we're just kind of waiting for maybe Shadow to get picked off here again as Xiao making his way in. But at least for the moment, anyone's Legend playing through 1-3-1. We've got Forge on the bot side. ZDZ doesn't have TP, so he's pushing the top. And they're slowly trying to get these waves in order.
trying to, at very least, is forge down in this bottom side. And, I mean, AL have complete control right now. As Shadow trying to find creative ways into the enemy half the jungle so that he can threaten a steal on this Baron. But if he doesn't get there soon, it's just going to be burst down because we've got the Crescendo available for Betty, so he will be able to do a lot of damage to this Baron very, very quickly. Shadow is overall does not currently have vision. He's just going to have to wing it as Jin Jiao goes in, but Betty with a very nice flash. They're just going to finish the Baron, and Shadow could not get the steal. And now in the back line, slicing Maelstrom as 2 men from AL are here, but in goes the Moonlight Vigil, and Forge there to finish the kills off as well. And now they truly are absolute legends.
And it's anyone's... I was going to say it's anyone's game, but it's really not. It's anyone's Legends game here. And they should be able to push this in. Baron up creeps behind them. And with 30 to 20 second death timers, you still have the Aphelios here. That should be it.
Oh, it's a magical thing to see. As soon as you hit that 28-minute mark, AL apparently just win games like that. They mind control the enemy into fighting them in a 5v5 that's not winnable and just obliterate them. It's beautiful to see. 2-1 in the end in favor of anyone's Legends after LGD came in swinging as well.